Consuming a plant-based diet is not just about living longer, it's about living better. Yes, it will increase your longevity by about 8 to 10 years, and those additional years are not going to be spent suffering in a hospital or a nursing home. You're not going to be deteriorating. You're going to have the energy and vigor that you did in your 50s and 60s. And it will be embracing your every moment and getting to enjoy your grandkids and having the capability of functioning on your own as opposed to being taken care of in a nursing home or by a family member. Recognizing that every bite of food you put into your mouth is either going to increase your health or decrease your health. So that is why maintaining this diet is so important. And that's why I want to go over several things that will help you sustain your decision to continue eating this healthier regimen. So for those of you who have not seen my videos, I'm Carly. I'm a plant-based nutritionist. I'm very passionate about this diet because it helped me overcome many of my health struggles. I also have a nutrition blog at modernnutritiondesigns.com. It's loaded with helpful information and videos on plant-based eating and healthy lifestyles in general. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. I'll leave it in the description below. My first pointer is to know your why. Why are you doing this? As I mentioned in the beginning, many people want to grow old with vitality instead of being placed in a nursing home during those years where they finally get to retire and are away from that 9-to-5 job, only to find themselves in a hospital or a nursing home or being taken care of at home by a loved one. It's very, very sad and incredibly common in the US where I'm from. So knowing what your motivation is and to be able to reference that motivation in times where you're kind of teetering or like say in a social circumstance where you're out eating, that's where I find, especially in the beginning, it's very difficult to maintain all the questions that you're going to be asked on why you're eating this way and, oh, why don't you just have some steak? Be firm, be confident, be strong about your decision. Know that it's the right thing to do for you and your family and your lack of medical bills. I could go on and on. The next one I want to talk about is to stay educated. It's so important that you surround yourself with accurate information. Nutrition is the most misconceived area of science because there is so many billion-dollar industries and egos in the way of determining what's best for human health. I just want to point out, I'm not getting paid for any of this. I just really love these books. Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss. This is great for anybody who's eating plant-based that wants to cut out those 3 ingredients from their diet to make it an SOS-free diet. That's actually what I consume, and it has definitely gotten me to the level that just a plant-based diet was not doing for me. So by cutting out the salt, sugar, and oils, I was able to overcome a lot more obstacles. Another one that I really love, all of Dr. Greger's books are just amazing. This is How Not to Diet, and it just goes over the science of weight loss and how to maintain a healthy weight throughout your lifespan. The last one I want to show you is Brenda Davis's Becoming Vegan. She also has an express edition. As you can see, it's kind of thick and it's very comprehensive. But for anybody who has questions or who is worried about how much protein they should get or is interested in nutrition information, this is an incredibly good read. And I'm constantly finding myself referencing it. Like when I got pregnant and started lactating, for instance, it was super helpful to know I was getting my proper nutrients and providing that for my baby. Moving on to our next point is sticking with foods and meals that you enjoy. This should not be torture. This should be enjoyable. Yes, there's going to be a 30 to 90 day period where you are adapting your taste buds to these new foods and these more natural foods as opposed to the hyper stimulating tastes that you're going to obtain from like your convenience foods and your snack foods or your fast foods, for instance. But eventually it's well worth the withdrawal period. The next one is kind of similar. I want you to broaden your selections of your foods and recipes over time. So if you're comfortable just sticking with, vegan alternatives for a little while, it's fine if it's a stepping stone, but it has to be a real stepping stone and not just one that you get stuck on. So I'm talking about vegan versions of sausages and cheeses and just margarine and ice cream. And the goal is not to substitute all of your familiar foods with new versions of your familiar foods. It's about completely redoing and changing your paradigm of what a diet should look like. I also want to mention finding new recipes is so important. There are so many resources these days. YouTube, blogs, there's so much information on the internet. You can literally Google any type of food and any type of cooking preparation, and somebody out there will have not just one, but 15 different ways where you can cook this food and integrate it into your diet. And this is how you cut it, and this is how you store it, and this is how you should best prepare it for this reason. These are seasonal foods, and these are the best to get organic, and these are the ones you don't need organic. There's so much information out there. There's no reason why you can't teach yourself how to do this right. So yes, this is a learning curve, and you are going to have to cook, and you are going to have to meal prep, which is my next point, but we'll get to that in a second. It's well worth the effort. I spend a ton of time chopping vegetables and preparing batch cooked meals for myself and my daughter and my boyfriend, but it's so worth the effort. And when you learn how to batch cook and meal prep, it takes a lot of the work out of it, and it just becomes a part of your weekly routine. If you don't plan ahead with your grocery shopping and your meal prepping and your batch cooking, this is never going to work. It's very labor intensive, but there are ways to minimize the time you spend in the kitchen. So for instance, I will batch cook a huge amount of soup in my pressure cooker, and that will last me all week. I'll freeze some, I'll put some in the fridge, and my whole family will eat it. I make a giant salad 1 to 2 times a week, keep that in the fridge, eat it. Every lunch I have a huge salad with a different grain and a different bean, and then I switch them up from week to week. This might sound like you'd get very bored, but there are very slick ways where you can keep it interesting and vary your intakes, from using different seasonings and different condiments and switching up your grains or your legumes. The possibilities are endless. So no, I never get sick of eating this way. Batch cooking is a lifesaver. And for breakfast, I just want to mention that I consistently make a whole slow cooker full of oatmeal that lasts several days at a time. So just popping it in the microwave and putting a different topping on each time with a different type of seed or a different type of nut, and sometimes a different kind of nut milk. There is so many variations that batch cooking should not be boring. The last thing I want to mention is social support. It's not 100% necessary because I don't recall having any social support, but I had to eat this way for my health. So many of you might be out there just trying to do this for weight loss reasons, or ethical reasons or environmental reasons, but I specifically had to do this if I wanted to maintain a life of any kind. So the motivation was very easy for me. But there are so many social groups these days on Facebook, and Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine actually has a great support group. It's free. They will help you find a support group in any city or any local area. But family might have a really hard time with this. I have consistently lived with people that have this side of the kitchen and I have this side of the kitchen. Yes, I have celiac disease, so I kind of need that separation for anybody who's going to share a kitchen with me that includes gluten in their diet. But also having those trigger foods, like if you have ever had a problem with food addiction or binge eating, sharing a kitchen with somebody who continues to consume those high calorie, high palatable, engineered, unnatural food substances in your home is an incredibly difficult situation to maintain without diving in there ever so often and eating some of their food. But it can be done. It just takes a lot of practice and time. It comes with that 30 to 90 day neuroadaptation change that you're going to go through when you cut out those foods and just stick to natural foods. Dr. Doug Lisle is a great resource when it comes to learning how to live with food addiction and binge eating problems when you don't have somebody that's very supportive living with you. He can even assist you with how to go about responding to people's questions in social circumstances when people start asking you why you're on this diet, and where do you get your protein, and where do you get your calcium, and blah blah blah. Are you really feeding your child a vegan diet? How are they going to get their iron? That kind of stuff, which I have videos for if you're interested. Otherwise, these videos have been incredibly supportive to me on this journey, and sometimes that's all you need. Listening to some of my favorite plant-based doctors like Dr. Furman, Dr. Clapper, Dr. Popper, Dr. Goldhammer, Dr. Lisle. There's many others, Dr. Greger, Brenda Davis. She's a great plant-based dietitian. Just keep yourself informed, and you should have plenty of motivation to stay on this diet. I wish you all the best. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and good luck.